So what does it mean to live and work in a global economy? Well, first of all, no nation can survive without regular, sustained international trade. A number of issues associated with the shutdown of production in China recently have told us that much of our supply chain is heavily dependent on parts, on raw materials, and finished goods that come from other parts of the world. So sustained international trade is here for the long term, and if I predict correctly, I think it will increase dramatically in the years just ahead. We'll become more domestically self-sufficient, but we still have global markets. Secondly, barriers have diminished on the movement of raw materials, finished goods, capital, and human labor. The recent coronavirus issue, however, tells us that even if you close borders, even if you shut down the exchange of human capital, raw materials, finished goods, all of that, we're still interdependent. And we will find ways to make certain that everyone within our alliance gets what they need. Multinational alliances are fairly common, and costs are often outsourced in ways that will make each of our enterprises better, will make them more dependent on others in other locations, but this is no longer an economy in which everybody meets in the same room at the same time. So what does all that mean in terms of macroeconomics? Well, first of all, this is all done in the economic interest of the slide you see now, in the interest of governments, regions, industries, different companies. Of all those items on that list, I would tell you that I think the most interesting in the relatively near term is NGOs. Non-governmental organizations step into the breach where governments cannot handle or function in particular issues or areas. We tend to think in the United States about NGOs like PETA, People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals, or other kind of single-issue interest groups. In other parts of the world, in Latin America, in North Africa, in Europe, we find NGOs in spaces where governments or the private sector often move. One organization I think of in particular is Médecins Sans Frontières, Doctors Without Borders. It's a pretty impressive NGO. You have to pay to get in. You have to bring your own instruments, bring your own nursing staff, and bring all of your own medicines. And they send you to someplace like the Khyber Pass to begin treating people who haven't seen medical care in a long time. So what I would say confidently is that NGOs will play a bigger role. They bring people from all cultures. But as you look across the landscape, part of our ability to succeed is dependent on our ability to communicate.